Annyeonghaseyo, this is meowmurai. Let's continue our game of Despera Drops running on Nintendo Switch 2.
世界のすべてを盗んであげるよ。
さっさと行くぞ。遅れるなよ。
これで問題ありませんか？
大丈夫だよ。体力には自信あるから。ミカは寝てていいよ。
As she finished speaking, I thought Sally's tone sounded a tad different from her normal one. Oh, hey, no problem. I don't expect people to catch every single stream. you know, there is life that they gotta live, you know. I wasn't sure how to describe it. Maybe mature? It was calm, and she didn't have her usual affectionate childlike feel.
せっかくだし、ゆっくり休んでなよ。運転は任せて。
My eyelids grew heavy at her soft voice, but was it really all right to take advantage of her kindness?
おやすみ。
Her voice was lower than usual, gently lulling me to sleep. For a moment, doubt flashed through my mind. Was it really Sally next to me? But soon overpowering drowsiness settled in, and I fell sound asleep. It's awful hard to sleep in that little sidecar. You have to be super tired. I heard someone calling me in my dream, but my body was heavy as lead, and I couldn't respond.
ぐっすり寝てる。仕方ないな。
Switzerland Mountain, July 18th, 2028, 1622, Tuesday, Riverbank. When I felt someone lift my body up in their arms, I woke with a gasp. The bike had pulled over. I lifted my head, and an extreme close-up of Sally's face filled my vision. She was carrying me.
あ、起きた？起きたけど、ここは？
Why is Sally so strong? Like, she's smaller than us, and yet she can carry me around. What the heck?
ここ、川沿いで気持ちいいでしょ？だから置いてきちゃったみんなをここで待とうと思ったんだ。
Oh, that's what happened. Sally finally put me down. I took the opportunity to look back and forth between my current position and where the bike was parked. Sally had carried me across a rather significant distance. You can't tell just by looking at her, but Sally's pretty strong, huh? Even when we had a sprint, she had much more stamina than me. There was quite a discrepancy between her physical strength and her cutesy personality.
ありがとう、サリー。でも起きないならサイドカーに置いてってくれてよかったのに。ダメだよ。ここは日本じゃないんだよ。女の子が一人で寝てたら危ないんだから。
Puffing out her cheeks, Sally glowered at me with displeasure. A girl younger than me was chiding me, so I clearly needed some self-reflection. Yeah, I'm not in Japan. It's not safe to let my guard down and doze off. Above all else, I'm a wanted fugitive.
そうだよね。サリーがいるからつい安心しちゃったみたい。ごめんね。あ、そうなんだ。そっか。サリーのおかげで安心しちゃったんだ。嬉しいな。
Sally's pure smile was always a sight to behold. Suddenly, I felt like I couldn't connect the dots. Back in Milan, she'd hacked into the police comms without a worry. Now she was innocently concerned about my health and was happy about my faith in her. Which one is the real her?
それよりほら、ここの草原気持ちよさそうだしさ。一緒に遊んで待ってよ。
With a big grin, Sally grabbed my hand and broke into a run. Without warning, someone's voice flowed into my mind from my fingertips, but static and background noise drowned out what they were saying. It sounded like Sally's voice, but also someone else. Who was that in the memory I just glimpsed? My curiosity was piqued, but it was bad manners to peer into another's memories without permission. I was putting my gloves back on when I heard a honk.
何してんの？
やれやれ、どこに行ったかと思ったら、そんなところで遊んでたか。
I turned towards the voices and saw the car had finally caught up to us. Once they parked, everyone ran all the way to the riverbank where the two of us sat. Safely reunited, we collectively decided to rest along the river. Ooh, I got a feather. While everyone relaxed in their own ways, Gib opened the trunk of the car, retrieving something, then walked towards the river.
おいおい、どこに行くんだ？
魚を釣ってくる。ミラノで組み立て式の釣り竿を調達しておいたからな。昼食を食べそびれただろう。
魚？
え、釣り道具持ってんの？
安物だがな。
Okay, I think we can skip this. This is common stuff. And then I'll pay extra.
なら私が多めに払います。
A storm was brewing during what was supposed to be a calming break. Seeing that, I rushed for a solution. I didn't want to quarrel over something like this. I thought my paying would be an easy fix, but for some reason, Ash clicked his tongue at me. Hamil also shot a chilly gaze in my direction.
ご立派な自己犠牲精神だ。だがな、そういうところが気に入らねえんだ。自分が損すりゃいい？そういうやつこそ信用ならないんだよ。
姉ちゃんがいっぱい払ってくれるなら別にラッキーじゃん。
サリーも買いたいものいろいろあるから、お姉ちゃんが払ってくれるなら助かるけどな。
Oh, wow, don't take advantage of me. What the heck?
誰かが損をするのは勝手だが、押し付けがましいのが気に入らねえ。
Yeah, I wonder if Hamil's storyline is just going to be like all romance, like more romantic than Rami. I only made it worse. What was the right thing to say? I was at a loss. That was when Gibb sighed with resignation.
わかった。今回については私の交渉不足だったと認め、整備費の半額はこちらで負担しよう。だが今後は必ず当分させてもらう。
Yeah, Ash doesn't like it being, things being unfair for us, but he was also willing to leave us. So, good and bad, right?
残りの500ユーロを君たち6人で分割してくれ。
では私がその残りの500ユーロを。
ダメだ。彼らも半額までなら出すと言ったんだ。それには従ってもらう。
Okay, so we are going to pick Sally's order.
じゃあサリーと同じもので。お姉ちゃんもパスタなんだ。もしかしてもうイタリアが恋しくなった？そういうわけじゃないけど、私もイタリアで暮らしてたし、パスタは食べ慣れてるから。それじゃあ日本のご飯は恋しくなったりしないの？どうかな。イタリアで暮らし始めた頃は確かにそうだったけど、最近はあまり感じなくなってたかも。日本ではどんなもの食べてたの？普通にパスタを食べたり、ピザを食べたり、カレーを食べたり、お肉を食べたり。
It's so interesting they just refer to meat as like a single category, right? It's not like beef or poultry or fish. It's just meat.
なんかこっちと変わらないね。
Ah, now that she points it out, she's kind of right. A while later, our dishes were carried to our table, one by one. The appetizing aroma of potatoes drifted in the air, and I noticed Ash's expression soften.
そういえば、アッシュ君はスイス国籍でしたっけ？
ああ。
So that's why Ash had appeared more spirited than usual as he faced the display of cuisine assembling on our table. Having the chance to enjoy the nostalgic taste of his homeland might be a source of joy for him. Food was fundamental. Anyone would ease up if they could enjoy the taste of they knew and loved, especially when they were fugitives on the run. I really haven't eaten Japanese food in a long time. I hadn't paid a single return visit to Japan during my studies, which meant that I hadn't had proper legitimate Japanese food for years. If I were in my day-to-day student life, I wouldn't have paid it any mind, but now I suddenly longed for the nostalgic flavors of Japan. I'd have indulged in the Japanese food I could find in Bologna, or if I'd only known this would happen. I sighed and ate the food I did have, just then. The restaurant entrance opened to allow another guest inside. The moment I saw his face, my breath hitched. No, that's right. This is this part we can skip. A little stalker friend. Or reporter. Oh, I'm not worried is the right answer, huh? Oh, I had no idea.
それを聞いて安心しました。ジブさんがそう言ってくれるなら大丈夫です。
何？
ジブさんが迷いなく撃つ人なら怖いと思ったかもしれません。でもジブさんが人を傷つけたくないと思ってる人だって分かりましたから。だから信じられます。
You know, Kim seems like the most sincere character, but when we go through his arc, I mean, he towers over her. She's like a tiny little girl compared to him. I held his hand and looked straight into his eyes. No trace of wickedness, no trace of craftiness. The only thing I could see was sincerity. Looking lost, Gib cast his eyes down. The evening breeze gently tousled his hair.
できることならば、君たちを守るためだけにこの銃を使えればよかったのだが。
I mean, look, he's fully bent on his knees, and he's still taller than her.
明日の作戦は私たちの未来を守るものです。
The words I said were inciting him to commit a crime, but if we didn't carry out our plan, our life on the run would be filled with more hardships. A 6'7" sounds about right, yeah. He's a tall dude. This was a path I couldn't avoid if I wanted to prove that I was innocent, that I wasn't a murderer.
そうか。そうだったな。私もいい加減覚悟を決めるとしよう。だが、君は自分の身を一番に考えて行動してくれ。身の危険を感じたら逃げるんだ。いいな。
This time, he was the one who held my hand. He gave it a squeeze as his determined eyes locked with mine. I could tell with one look that he was worried about my safety. Even though he was technically the one with the gravest charges among us, I could no longer see him in that light. How could I? A criminal who truly committed such a crime would never be afraid of hurting me by mistake. That was what I believed. Was my intuition mistaken? I didn't have the answer. Even so, I wanted to put my faith in this man, no matter what. Switzerland, Altdorf, July 19th, 2028, 9 a.m., Wednesday, Marketplace. I think this is the same. Yeah, this is the same. Mika should get a cool weapon. I don't know. What could she possibly use? Maybe a katana. She's Japanese. Yeah. And then let's think another way was the right answer, strangely enough. Okay, so we have gone through this. Yeah, going through on another playthrough doesn't have quite the same impact since, you know, we're just like skipping a bunch of the story. But there's no way I could read, 22 hours of story times 6 or 7. There's 13 endings, so that's a lot of reading, especially for a lot of stuff that's repeated. Okay, we can skip mission mode. Yeah, oddly enough, this is always with Rami. And we did nothing wrong, I think it was the right one. Yeah, we did nothing wrong.
私たちは悪いことなんてしてません。
We'd only gone to save Elmar. Oh, that's right. Okay, this is normal. We've done this one. Give her a stick. Well, she could do the wooden katana, the training katana. That's fairly common in anime. And we're going to pick Sally. Sally slept the longest out of all of us. She must have been drowsy now, but in the dead of night... Wait, she must have been drowsy now in the dead of night. I glanced at her, but the next moment she jogged to the bike.
サリーが運転する。え？でもサリー、眠くない？大丈夫？
I called out after her, and she turned around energetically.
全然平気。サリー、昼夜逆転するのは得意なんだ。一度寝たら起きられないだけ。
Oh, I see.
それに夜の方が仕事もはかどるしね。
In my head, hackers were people who'd type away at their computers until the witching hour, so it seemed Sally didn't stray from the stereotype. So, with Sally at the handlebars, we left Thune behind us. That's true of me too, I am more productive at night. But I would never work, like, all through the night. Our destination wasn't Bern, like we'd initially planned. Now we were heading to Basel. Since a witness had reported us in Switzerland, we decided to drive to Basel to leave the country. It was close to the borders of France and Germany.
でもお姉ちゃんが屋敷に忍び込むなんてびっくりしたよ。お姉ちゃんのスマホにサリー特製の追跡アプリを入れといてよかった。追跡アプリ？そう、警察に探知されないようにプログラム改造したついでに入れといたんだ。
I never even noticed. Hang on, didn't Hamiel tell her not to do anything uncalled for? Either way, I couldn't deny that her app helped me escape to safety. I decided to only focus on that now and smiled.
そうだったんだ。サリー、助けてくれてありがとう。え？助ける？え？うん。だってサリーが連絡してくれなかったら、きっと無事に脱出できてなかったと思うし。それに心配して探してくれたって言ってたよね。だから心配してくれてありがとう。
Yeah, I do kind of wonder what Mika's true ending is going to be. I mean, everybody's going to have some sort of exposure to the drops of Erd. Maybe that'll explain why she can't remember her mother or whatever happened very well. I don't know.
お姉ちゃんの助けになった？
We'll say you definitely were.
すごく助かったよ。ありがとう、サリー。へへへ、そうかな。サリー、偉い？偉いというより助かったかな。
Technically, she'd done something illegal, so I felt like I shouldn't wantonly praise her. Still, not wanting to put a damper on her elation, I nodded.
そっか、サリー、お姉ちゃん助けちゃった。 リー、スピードは出さないで。だってお姉ちゃんの助けができて嬉しいんだもん。
Beaming with joy, Sally swerved the bike like we were in a racing game, flitting across the road. Since I met her, Sally had hacked without thinking it was something to be guilty about. I started wondering how she stepped into this field in the first place, but when even the smallest praise gave her so much joy, I felt like she could shift to a hacker for the police or something, given the opportunity. A girl like her could turn over a new leaf and get a fresh start in life.
ねえサリー、サリーはどうしてハッキングをするようになったの？
I asked when I couldn't bear my curiosity any longer. For an instant, Sally's gaze unfocused.
だってやらなきゃいけないから。
Because she has to?
そう、サリーにもいろいろあるんだよ。
I felt like this was the first time Sally had dodged the topic. She didn't seem to want to talk about what exactly she had to do, so I held my tongue. After roughly 2 hours, we arrived in Basel. Switzerland, July 21st, 2028, 2:46, Basel, Friday, condo, living room. We checked into a budget condo that one of the others had found. This time our lodgings were nice and cozy. The beds were soft, the bath was private, and there was even a kitchen. We'd get proper rest here.
じゃあここがサリーとお姉ちゃんの女子部屋ね。男子は入っちゃダメだから。
部屋が別になるなんて俺もありがたいね。これで寝起きに変なマットを踏まずに済む。
ちょっと、それサリーのこと？もう、サリーマットじゃないのね。
Though they bantered energetically back and forth, Sally soon went to bed and fell asleep in the blink of an eye. Seeing her asleep suddenly brought on my drowsiness too. Now that we'd safely checked in, I entered the so-called girls' room and collapsed into my bed. After that, we spent the day inside the condo, each doing our own thing, like sleeping, showering, or doing laundry. Switzerland, July 21st, 2028, 22:06, Basel, Friday, condo, living room. By the time night fell, everyone was awake, so I made a meal, as had become my routine. The menu for dinner tonight was a simple soup made from leftover ingredients we'd bought in Thun, paired with some bread. Okay, this part we got through. Okay, yeah, that's right. This is Kamu's little comic book encounter. I think it's interesting we ran into other mad bombers. Like, what are the chances that he'd run into another another set of folks that that planted bombs? All these characters are so fascinating. They did a really good job with them. We're going to say, you're not a coward.
そんな、神さんは臆病なんかじゃありません。だってあんなに勇敢に。
いえ、臆病者ですよ。さっきだって本当はあなたを連れて逃げ出したかった。
そうだったんですか？そんな風には見えませんでしたけど。
それはきっと。
Kamu stared at me with a serene look in his eyes. They were so beautiful that I felt as if they might suck me in.
あなたが隣にいてくれたからですね。あなたが逃げずにそこにいてくれたから、僕も逃げ出さずに済みました。ああ、そうか。僕が怖かったのは、あなたのその強さなのですね。自分にはない強さを持っているあなたが、僕には怖かったんです。まるで僕自身の弱さが責められるようで怖かった。
Suddenly, Camo began acting all panicky.
別にミカのことが怖いって言ってるわけじゃありませんけど、よぎ。
はい、分かってます。
Just as I thought, Camo was a person with strength of heart. Someone who could share such pure feelings was the furthest thing from a coward.
でもどうかこれからは自分の身を一番に思って行動をしてください。僕からのお願いはそれだけです。
That was all he said before he resumed running. Only our footfalls echoed down the street. Camo's kindness was cruel. I could tell that he genuinely cared about me, which made it more painful. Apologies and words of gratitude would ring hollow if I said them now. I could only keep running in silence. Like burrs in my shoes, his kind words stabbed at me with each step. We're in France, your favorite place. Sorry, spilling the tea for Rebecca. So I'm taking a short break.
ちょっとここでやっ
Okay, we did see this one. And I have faith in them. We also took. That's right. He gets caught. I'll say, isn't he our teammate?
そんなアッシュさんは仲間じゃないんですか？
仲間じゃねえよ。アッシュだけじゃない。ここにいるのは誰一人仲間じゃない。何度もそう言ってるだろ。
そんな
No other than Hamill explicitly said they'd abandon Ash, but at the same time, no one else supported a rescue.
いや、僕としてはアッシュ君は愛の地球戦隊の貴重なメンバーではあるのですが、今回ばかりは分が悪いと言いますか。
Yeah, I'm gonna guess Hamu's storyline is gonna be pretty messed up. I mean, they gotta explain why, they gotta explain why he is the way he is.
そうだよな。トゥーンで助けてもらった義理もあるし、このまま見捨てるってのは気持ち悪いけどさ。
When weighed against the risk of their own arrests, they gave up, telling themselves there was no other way. I had to save Ash, even if I was alone. It was my fault he'd been captured after all.
わかりました。なら一人で行ってきます。
Yeah, it is also possible that his backstory is going to be really dumb, and we're not going to feel sorry for him. I mean, I kind of doubt that, but you never know.
え？マジで言ってんの？絶対そんな無理だって。
I mean, I wouldn't have guessed Rami's backstory would have been what it was. Even though we got the bad end. It's pretty serious for him.
でもアッシュさんを見捨てるなんて私にはできません。
I rushed out of the hotel. Alone, I sprinted to the Colmar police station Alone, I sprinted to the Colmar police station we'd seen on Sally's laptop. Even if the price was my own arrest, it was better than forsaking someone who'd saved me. Hamill would call me an idiot. Kamu would say that I was only being self-righteous, that this was meaningless self-sacrifice. But if I ran away here, I would never be able to return to who I once was. I would never forgive myself. And so I pressed on. I knew that this was completely different from the mansion mission with Rom and Thune, but I still ran to rescue Ash. In the back of my mind, I knew that infiltrating the detention cells of a police station was just another crime on my list, but I couldn't stop. France, Colmar, July 24th, 2028, 13:27 Monday, outside station. Alright, this is normal stuff. We've gone through all of this. And I should thank you was the right answer. Huh. It's weird that sometimes I pick the right one.
そんな私
Not that often, though. Okay, since we're doing Sally stuff, it's defend someone in danger. Yeah, it's hard to tell based on this description which of the crew you're going to meet, but defend someone in danger. I don't know. This wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily think this would be for Sally. Everyone had been attacked, and it was all my fault. I didn't want anyone to get hurt because of me. As I looked around me, I saw a knife flying through the air toward Sally. I raced forward, intending on shielding her, but then Sally's eyes widened with astonishment, and she sprinted in my direction at full speed. Well, something bothering my nose, damn. Sally rammed herself into me, and the two of us nearly toppled over. But just barely. Sally stood her ground and used her momentum to grab my hand. Still with my hand in hers, Sally broke into a run. An unfamiliar scene began to interrupt my vision. Ooh, we're getting more Sally backstory.
こっちだサリー
Oh, that was it, damn. It was the memory of someone leading Sally by the hand, but why I wasn't able to see who was speaking. Who in the world were they? I felt as if I'd met them somewhere before. That thought swirled in my mind while Sally pulled me along. France, July 25th, 2028, 12:58 a.m. Colmar, Tuesday. Cave. We ran, climbed down a cliff, and hid behind the cover of trees as we fled from our pursuers. Eventually, we sensed that no one was chasing us anymore. We discovered a cave around the same time and decided to spend the night there. The rain had steadily grown fiercer during our escape, and moments after we rushed into the cave, it transformed into a full storm.
間一髪セーフだねすっごい土砂降りだよお姉ちゃん濡れなかったギリギリ間に合ったって感じかなサリーは大丈夫だった服は濡れなかったよでもやっぱり夜の山の中はちょっと寒いね
She was right. I couldn't say the lodge had been cozy, but I felt that it was at least preferable to roughing it in the wilderness.
それに地面もゴツゴツしてお尻が痛くなりそうだしあの山小屋が天国に思えてきたよせめて平らなところを探して座ろっか
We wandered further inside the cave, feeling around until finally we found a place where we could sit and relax. We settled down next to each other.
じゃあもう寝ちゃおうサリー眠いもん
I know, Sally's all eat and sleep. That's primarily what she does.
そうだね
I was terrified that those agents might come, but staying up the entire night wouldn't help us get away from them. Not to mention that what we'd done for the moment, they discovered this place anyway. Not to mention that we'd be done for the moment, they discovered this place anyway. Even if we fled deeper into the cave system, exit was no guarantee. Therefore, resting as much as possible was my best option. Just as I lay down on the ground, Sally practically glued herself to me.
じゃあくっついて寝よ うしてくっついたらお互いにクッションみたいだしあったかいでしょ。
Sally hugged me tightly from behind. The sensation I felt wasn't quite what I'd anticipated. I blinked in surprise. Hmm? A girl was hugging me, but for some reason it didn't feel like it. The chest pressed against my back was hard, almost like a man's. Oh, okay. Well, this is kind of what I suspected about Sally. I must be imagining things, right? But on top of that, the hands holding me had strong, pronounced knuckles. It just didn't feel like I was with a girl. Though I was warm, I felt somewhat baffled. Yeah, I mean, I think Sally's cosplaying. No, this isn't the time to think about stuff like this. I had collapsed earlier. Considering that we might be attacked again, it was prudent to sleep and preserve my stamina. But, oh, where in the world should I run? Where should I run, and who should I escape with? Would I be able to shake my pursuers off successfully all by myself? Or Sally just hits the gym. I don't know. All she does is eat and sleep. What? When would she ever go to the gym? Their orders had been to capture Acolyte, which meant that they'd come here for me. They'd come seeking me due to my powers, just like I feared. Otherwise, they wouldn't have referred to me with a codename. With me around, none of the others could escape from my enemy's tenacious pursuit. Sally was a girl who adored me unconditionally. I mustn't drag her into my mess.
ねえミカ、難しいこと考えちゃダメだよ。
I heard Sally's voice right next to my ear. She hugged me tight and stroked my head.
ちゃんと守るから。
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I work out too. Seems like you get no results, but I do hit the gym. I just had to do it late at night because it's a pain in the butt having to wait around for weights and having to deal with the gym crowd, you know.
サリー。でもきっと彼らはずっと追いかけてくる。いつかサリーも巻き込んでしまう。別にいいよ。サリー、ずっと一人ぼっちだったから一緒がいい。
She was alone for the longest time?
サリーは別に追われてもいいもん。一人の方が嫌だよ。
Was that truly what she thought? I wasn't sure what to think, but suddenly Sally caught my hand and grasped it tightly. The emotions swirling within her heart were the same as her words. I could see her care and worry for me. At the same time, there was fatigue and fear. I could tell she was pushing herself. I could no longer run away from making a decision. I had to accept the reality that I was a burden and make up my mind once and for all.
ごめんね、サリー。サリーだって怖いよね。え？サリー？怖くないよ。嘘。だって見えたもの。サリーの気持ちが。サリーの気持ち？
Nodding, I decided to confide in Sally. I shifted until we were laying face to face. Since I'd involved her, I owed it to her to be honest about the reason I was a target. That was the least I could do.
今まで黙っててごめんね。私には生まれつき人の感情や思い浮かべた記憶を読み取る力があるの。
I fixed my gaze on Sally's face as I told her my story in bits and pieces. Oh yeah, this will be interesting. With Camus, he thought it was like super cool because he's a, comic nerd. Sally, I don't know what she would think about this. Since my earliest memories, I'd possessed this power. To hide it, I'd worn gloves all my life. Then I'd been present at a murder scene in Rome and ended up reading the emotions of the real murderer. Finally, I told her that likely my power was the reason someone out there was targeting me.
ごめんね。私がいなければみんな巻き込まれなかったのに。それは違うよ。
Sally tightly grasped my hand, as if urging me to read her emotions.
ミカがいたからここまで逃げてこられたんだよ。 もサリー、怖がってる。
When I pointed that out, I heard a soft chuckle. The emotions flowing into my fingertips felt almost as if she was fondly saying, "Ah, you're such a handful."
サリーが怖がっているとしたら、お姉ちゃんがいなくなることをだよ。この瞬間が怖いわけじゃない。サリーの気持ちを読めるならわかるでしょ。
She gave my hand another squeeze, and her feelings were communicated to me vividly. She wanted to be with me. She was scared of getting separated. The sentiments were so strong that I could almost hear her saying them aloud.
サリーはミカに巻き込まれたんじゃないよ。自分で考えて自分の気持ちで一緒にいるんだから。この思いちゃんと伝わってる？
Yeah, Sally's really trying to communicate through the touching. We didn't get that much from Camus. Or from, well, actually, yeah, I guess this is the only thing we did with Camus. Yeah, I'm scared of being separated too. I'm scared of putting you in danger. I'm scared of being separated too.
私だって離れ離れになるのは怖いよ。一緒にいたいよ。
Having received the earnest shouts of Sally's heart, I returned the same words. She sucked in a sharp breath. She probably hadn't expected me to hear her thoughts this clearly or respond so strongly. I messed up. It was too late by the time I realized. How could I have forgotten that the spooked looks, the creeped out glares? Sally was going to shun me now.
本当に聞こえてるんだ。ごめん。なんで謝るの？だってやっぱりこんなの気持ち悪いでしょ。そんなことない。そんなことないよ。だってサリーは嬉しいから。お姉ちゃんとこうして心がつながってるって分かって嬉しいから。
Her warm heart poured into me, validating the words she whispered.
お姉ちゃんがお姉ちゃんで本当に良かったよ。
There was only truth in her words, and that was the reason I grew even more fearful. In the end, I still didn't want to drag her into danger, even if she was a criminal. I'd already cared for her so much.
だから勝手にどっか行っちゃダメだよ。ね。サリー。
I also think it's a little weird that when somebody refers to themselves in the third person.
どこにも行かないようにこうしてギュッとしててあげるから。
She whispered in a more mature voice than usual, and as she hugged me tight. I felt her warmth against my body. I felt her soft breaths brush against my skin. The pleasant warmth made my eyelids grow heavy. Simultaneously, it became harder and harder to tell whether it was Sally embracing me. But one feeling remained, even in my dreams, her wish to stay with me even after learning about my powers. Okay, yeah, she had a significantly different reaction. Like, not really a reaction at all to learning about our powers. The next morning greeted us with beautiful weather. After taking refuge in the cave for the entire night, the two of us decided to return to the lodge to check on the situation and retrieve our belongings. France, July 25th, 2028, 7:44, Colmar, Tuesday, outside lodge.
ああ、いたいた。
Yeah. I mean, you still have like the I and the me in Italian speech as well. So yeah, she's just a weirdo. Or we're gonna find out why she refers to herself in third person sometimes. When we cautiously snuck up to the lodge, we discovered that everyone else had gathered here too. I didn't spot any of the assailants from last night in the area. With a sigh of relief, I rushed over to the others.
よかったです。皆さんも無事で。
I mean, there might be a story reason she does it.
いやー、すごい雨でしたね。それより腹減った。なんか食べ物残ってないの？
We chatted and shared information about last night, such as the discovery of the ruin-like cave and how the pursuers had withdrawn due to the storm. Not once during the conversation did anyone blame me. They had every right to say it was my fault that we were attacked again, but didn't even bring it up. If anything, they were concerned about me, asking if I was okay. Just as I thought, they weren't one-dimensional criminals. They were my friends. Looking at my comrades' faces, I found the will to do what I knew I must. I would accept the plea bargain that Rebecca brought up. Though I felt guilty planning this on my own, I was going to negotiate to help the others get away. All that was left was to bid farewell to my companions.
それでどうする？食料も尽きたし、町に行くだろ？
そうだな。ここから行けそうで大きな町というと、ストラスブールか。
裏をかいてコルマールに戻るというのは？
そりゃ無理だろ。あとは俺らの車が無事ならいいけどな。
昨晩のあの悪天候だ。警察の捜索も進んでいないだろう。今なら見つかる前に回収できるだろうな。
Oh, why is Mika adding Hamil to the friends group? I mean, she's just a caring person. Everyone promptly turned, starting the march back down to where we'd hidden our vehicles. I took a breath and then called out to them.
その前に私皆さんに話さなきゃいけないことがあるんです。
I disclosed the secret of my powers to everyone else. I explained that I could read emotions to a certain extent through touch, and that someone was likely after me because of this power. Everyone besides the one whom I told last night was surprised, but none of them held me in disdain or were frightened.
なるほど。奴らが君を狙う理由が分かったのは一歩前進というところだな。
ま、そんな力があるなら悪用したい奴もいるだろうよ。お前にとっちゃ迷惑な話だろうがな。
心を読める力ですか。さすがは神秘の国日本の女性。確かミコというのでしたよね。素晴らしいです。
っていうか、その力って姉ちゃんのものじゃん。それをまるで自分のもののように奪いに来るって、あいつらマジでムカつかね。
よく話してくれたな。だが、お前が気にする必要はね。
Their reactions made this seem ordinary. They listened to my story earnestly and accepted my power as if it was the normal thing to do. And they confirmed that they still welcomed me with open arms.
どこかに私のグローブは落ちてませんか？やっぱりあれをつけてないと間違って皆さんの心を見てしまいそうですから。
I needed to respect everyone's trust and acceptance by sealing away my power. However, as I searched for my gloves,
そんなのつけなくてもいいよ。だって肌が弱いのって嘘だったんだ。
okay, this is the common stuff. I recognize the dialogue. And we have to pick with this one too, so this was the right choice.
本当に好きにし
Yeah, I like that. Hammy was the one that's onto us. She knows. He knows we're going to try to bail. You know, now that I think about it, we didn't get much of the serial killer girl in Rami's playthrough. I wonder if we're going to see her more in one of the other storylines. Okay, let me skip mission mode. And we're gonna call Sally on this one. I'll tell Sally about the secret passage. When I called Sally's number, she picked up at once.
ちょっとお姉ちゃん、今どこにいるの？すぐに助けに行くから場所を教えてよ。サリー、無事でよかった。怪我とかしてない？サリーは大丈夫だよ。それよりすぐにそっち行くからどこにいるか教えて。その大広間のマントルピースの中に隠し通路があるの。そこから城の外に出られるよ。隠し通路？何それ？なんでお姉ちゃんそんなこと知ってるの？私はその隠し通路の先の安全なところにいるから。嘘？もしかしてもう逃げちゃったの？うん、私は大丈夫。だからサリーは早く安全な場所まで逃げて。
I hung up before Sally could question me any further. Now I just had to escape myself and reunite with the others. Just then my phone vibrated in my hand and the screen went dark. It had run out of battery. I couldn't contact my friends anymore, but I was relieved that I had at least managed to direct them to safety in time. Preparing to make my own way, I pressed my ear to the room's door to see if the coast was clear and heard approaching footsteps. They'd find me at this rate. I was paralyzed with indecision when a flustered voice filtered into the room from the corridor.
アコライトが3階にいる？それは本当か？確保に向かうぞ。
The pair's footsteps were now fading away. Stunned and curious, I crept into the corridor. As soon as my feet went past the threshold, the door of the adjacent room flung open, and the person who came out was Sally.
Sorry?
Sally grasped my arm and dashed away, tapping at her phone with one hand. In moments, a faraway explosion echoed out. I had to guess that Sally was detonating bombs remotely to stir up mayhem in the castle. We took advantage of the chaos and escaped the castle. I sat in the sidecar while Sally drove. I peered at her expression. This was rare. Sally was absolutely fuming.
Sally? 怒ってる？当然だよ。なんであんな勝手なことしたの？サリーたちをほっぽって投降するなんて、あんな風に逃げてって言われて、サリーたちが逃げるとでも思ったの？でも私といたらみんなも危険な目に遭うから。サリーだって嫌なんだよ。お姉ちゃんがいなくなるのは。
As she drove the bike more wildly than she usually did, tears glistened at the corners of her eyes.
もういなくならないよ。本当？
Sally's voice cracked. Her distress was the reason my reply stuck like a rock in my throat. She was my dear friend. I didn't want to leave her behind, but I also didn't want to put her in more danger. Conflicted, I searched for the right words.
サリーはね、もう大切な人を二度と失いたくないんだよ。
Oh, a second time. A second time?
もうお姉ちゃんのバカ。今度勝手におとりになろうとしたら絶対許さないから。
Sally accelerated the bike as if to declare the conversation over. Anger practically gushed out from her, and I found myself at a loss for words. Germany, Constance, July 26, 2028, 1629, Wednesday, Resort Hotel. All right, yeah. I mean, this is it's interesting how different it is with Sally. Of course, this is the thing that will motivate you to play more is the story being so different. All right, we are approaching the top of the hour, so why don't we stop it here? This is meowmurai. You've been watching Despera Drops, running on Nintendo Switch 2. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream. I don't know, I like this route. It's interesting. Sally's definitely very complicated.